Almost, yes!
I wait for no man.
But we don't have just men up here, so.
I see what
that's
us.
true.
Anyway, front thing.
Bow, that's right.
Bow, now towel, day flex.
Yeah.
Air's always good.
Yeah, open because the lobby seems to be like super cool, and the rest of the place.
And then people can come in and
Yeah.
Well, like clunk. And
Some of us have been falling asleep.
And then leaving.
We tried.
Kicking the door in. It didn't work at all. No. But her persistence paid off. 4 times the charm. I don't know what this panel is actually supposed to be called, but this is how to make cool stuff out of everyday found objects. Or how to make it yourself from scratch.
Making costumes.
You make stuff from scratch.
Sometimes.
A lot.
Yeah, you'd be surprised though.
Yeah. I like your badminton extendable.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Killing pokey thing.
Today. Yeah, savvy things.
Killing
Love
pokey
savvy
thing.
things.
It's your other
Love
costumey savvy thing.
Yeah, I can love those for some reason. I don't want to keep doing it to yourself, but.
And there should also be someone just outside the door. If anyone peeks in, they push them the whole way in.
they're good.
You're part of it now.
Bodhi, do it.
Yeah. Just grab someone by the scuff. As soon as you see like a part of a face, grab it and yank it in. All right, or not. No. All right.
Fail.
Yeah. He's making rude faces at me. So.
It's a comedy troupe.
Want to do
We tried.
Introductions.
Cool. Hello, my name is Jen Wicks. I'm with UNY Cosplay, the Upstate New York Cosplay Society, which mostly does like video game and anime costumes, but also recently there's been a lot of pop culture stuff. Today I'm Loki from the Avengers. Don't know why. But I'm going to talk about anime costumes, video game costumes, and I'll chat about how I made my big stick and my helmet as well, which is still in progress. So and this whole thing. So and we love questions too.
Definitely.
Yes, questions.
So Nikki Blum, I'm here representing the 501st Legion and the Rebel Legion. We have a huge international organization and our chapter for upstate New York, Garrison Excelsior. And also my friend Chris Grace, he's 501st and Rebel Legion as well.
He's also got a big sticky pokey.
Yes.
I made this by all by hand, and I'm not very good with tools. So it can be done.
My name is David Ramsey. I am here today for the Mandalorian Mercenaries, which is the third of the 3 Star Wars costume groups in the area, or in the world. Yeah, in the world now.
There's Jedi Academy too.
Yeah, and the Dark Empire.
Dark Empire. Too many people like to dress up in costume. Not in Halloween.
Which was fucking lame.
That's usually our day off.
Yes, then we can stay home.
When I lived in California, we could just get in costume and hang out at Man's Chinese Theater, and people thought you were part of doing something and wanted a photograph. So it's kind of like, ha, fooled you. But now moving out here to New York and not being involved in a group, you get shot. Your teeth are pretty. So
thank you for that.
You always keep this interesting.
Yeah. So actually being involved in a group, safety in numbers, especially with speed dial phones, is always good. Squires, handlers, docents, and all that. And we make armor and guns.
Yes, lots and armor. Lots of guns. I am Dan Westbrook. I am the leader for the New York clan, the Federal clan for the Mandalorian Mercs. And as Dave said, we make guns and armor.
Nice. That's pretty much what we're attracted to, is just the male posturing.
Not just male posturing, we have many female members.
Of consumerism.
There's a soon to be one in the room.
Yeah, several.
That's why I said soon to be. That's my wife, Kimberly. She's in costume too. She's in the badass armor.
Yeah. She wanted to hide in the forest, so we made her green. Where she cannot be seen. Practicing the art of not being seen.
But then you're also part of the Rebel Legion with your indoor kit.
Yes, my indoor kit, because I also wanted to hide in the forest and not be seen. So I made an indoor rebel trooper, and I'm working on my improv officer and my death trooper. I wanted to do my death trooper, but I can't have that as a first costume because it's not family friendly. JP. So you can't, something where your intestines are hanging out and slapping against your knee as you're walking around. is not
C6.
C6, yeah, C6, or the horror show,
Yeah.
or something would be fun. But yeah, intestines are always good. Usually it's like fun.
Jen, you want to kick us off with some of your props and go from there?
Sure. I'm not going to do a whole lot of moving, but
Yeah.
first of all, this is based off the concept art. That's why the coloring is wrong. I have to redo it. But so this is my stab at making the cosmic sphere from the Avengers. So I have very little experience in woodworking. I'm starting to use it. So I used a lot of stuff, not only wood. This big chunk is wood, this big chunk is wood. But the handle itself is PVC. There's craft foam on there. There's Model Magic foam on there. There is a cap of an aspirin bottle on there. There's all sorts of weird stuff in there. This top is a Christmas ornament, and what I love about that is that it pops open. So there's the light in there.
Nice.
And these little lights, I love them because they're self-contained.
Velcro.
Exactly.
Velcro sticks in there, and if you have a spot in your costume that needs to glow, you can just use one of these. And they're very easy. You can replace the batteries. I've had this one in probably 4 or 5 shows, and the batteries haven't died yet.
Where'd you get it?
These I got from Michael's Crafts. They sell them in like 6 packs, and they're I think $6 or $7, so they're really not too bad.
Do they come in a variety of colors?
Yes, they do.
Nice.
The trick is if you want something to glow is to get some glass frosting spray, which is only a few bucks. And that way it diffuses the light, so you don't just have a straight beam of light coming out. It kind of gives it the nice glow look. It looks really good in the dark. It's a little harder in the fluorescent lights, but it looks pretty good that way. And that's the same way I did the Cosmic Cube, the Tesseract. Same kind of thing. Used a softball case. If you wanted some texture in there, I found that wax paper works really good. So if you need something that looks sort of mystical, wax paper, the frosting spray, and the LED works really well. I'll put this thing back here. A lot of people, when I talk about Loki, are really curious about his helmet. I'm still working on this thing. I'm still trying to find the magic solution for it. But the plastic that we're going to talk about a lot today, and the plastic that you guys use, is called Sintra. It's a PVC. It's a couple millimeters thick. What's really nice about it is that it is rigid. It's what I use my chest plate for. It holds its own weight really well. It's trickier to cut, but it looks really good when you mold it up. The horns were actually 3 different types of thermoplastic because I couldn't figure the darn things out for the longest time. Because if I took a piece and I curved it, it would kind of pucker over itself, and I couldn't get the sides right. It was very weird.
Where do you get this stuff that you're talking about?
The Sintra, I got from a local sign company. It's kind of weird the way you have to get it, but it's best to go to a company that does like facet signs or anything like that. They have sheets of it in the back, and you can walk in and say, I need a sheet of that stuff, and they go, okay, and they sell it to you.
You can get it offline if you want to pay the price for it, but you don't have access to something.
Right.
There's Empire Plastics in the Binghamton area, and they sell it by the 4x8 sheet for like $50. And that will get you probably enough to make 2 full sets of armor. You can also, buy half a sheet.
Yeah.
And it's like the same PVC that people will vacuum form with, but it has more air in it. So it kind of reminds me of like a Whopper, the candy.
Yeah.
So you can cut it with a jigsaw, you can cut it with a knife, you can cut it with a Dremel, and you can heat it with a heat gun from the hardware store.
Right.
And you just form it over whatever you want. Or you form it, put some gloves on, you can form it by hand.
For real? What's it called again?
Sintra, S-I-N-T-R-A, Sintra.
It's about $50 for a big sheet of it, but it goes a long way, a very long way. I had several mistakes, and I had enough. The Sintra's great for really solid, heavy stuff that needs to hold its own weight. Wonderflex is a little lighter. It's what I use for my bracers. It's thinner, it's lighter, and that's what I use for the front of the horns because it bent very easily because it was thin. And then I use that pink insulation foam for the inside of the horns. And currently I'm still smoothing out all the ugly pieces on this using different fillers, specifically Bondo. It's really a lot of fun to use. Yeah.
Is it okay to keep, like, if you're making a helmet, the horns hollow, or do you really need to fill them if you want them to stay together?
I think it depends on what you're constructing it out of. I've seen people do hollow horns, and they got it to work. I couldn't. I didn't get mine to work quite right because I was so new with the Sintra. One person I know actually did like 3 or 4 pieces under this to get the shape right. What I actually wound up doing with mine was, this is Sintra, this inner piece here, and then I put just a big block of foam on it, and I used a hot cutter to just cut the shape and then sand it to fill it, and then smooth over the top with the Wonderflex. I don't see why you couldn't do it hollow though, especially if you're going to have different walls. The tricky part was the curvature in it, the way the parts move each other. Yeah.
Like pink or blue insulation foam?
He was asking what you filled it with.
Yeah.
Oh, what filler I used on it was Bondo, which is like a car filler.
No,
Oh, the foam inside.
Oh, the foam? This stuff is that pink wall insulation stuff, polystyrene that you get at Home Depot.
Not like a 4x8 sheet.
Yep. Yeah, very hard to fit in cars.
If you want
Trying to fit in like,
jump in for-
oh, come on, yeah.
Yeah, the pink stuff from Home Depot is a little bit more crunchy.
Yep.
The blue stuff from Lowe's has a little bit softer texture to
A
it.
little easier, yeah.
It's not like a little unsafe, but it's like fiberglass in it though.
I'm sorry?
It's not a little unsafe though with the fiberglass.
It doesn't have fiberglass.
Nah, it's
No,
not fiberglass.
yeah.
It's expanded
Those stuff that you
styrofoam.
put in ceiling.
No,
this
the styrofoam
on the
sheet.
outside walls of a house.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the
Solid
solid foam.
4x8
Yep.
sheet.
Yeah, not the stuff that you would put up in your attic.
We do not recommend using that for postures.
No, not the bad sheets that you would put in between the rafters or the wall.
Yep, yeah.
Did you think about maybe trying to use like the liquid expanding foam?
I've thought about that. I didn't use it recently, but has anybody used that? The expanding foam?
Yeah, you have you can use the speaking of which, my intestines, which I didn't bring today. I used the window expanding foam.
Yeah.
The great stuff. That's air cure. So as it sprays out, it cures it, and it expands very slowly. So it'll keep expanding even after an hour or so, and it cures very slowly too. So it exerts a lot of slow pressure on something. So if you do put it inside of a vessel, it could actually buckle the vessel because it's applying slow pressure. It also needs to air cure, so you can't have it completely fill in something. It would have to do layer and layer and layer. The other stuff is AB foam, or boat foam, or maritime foam, that you mix equal parts to it. It's self-catalyzing, and after 5 minutes, it's done. It's rock hard sandable.
Wow.
You just don't make sure not to get any of that on your hands, or you will become the walking Post-it, because you can't wash the stuff off. You just have to let it wear off of your fingers. But that expands, say, anywhere from, depending on the manufacturer, anywhere from 10 to 20 times its volume. And I actually filled this, which we'll get to. This is a safety for a fluorescent light bulb fixture. So to make it rigid, so it couldn't get squishy, I filled it with a foam. And I just used 1 ounce of each. I capped the end off, and it chased itself out of the tube. But after, this is an AB boat foam. It's a maritime foam. Use it to put in the hulls of boats to make them buoyant. But yeah, 25 times its own, and that's rock hard after 5 minutes. You don't have to worry about slow curing.
The light fixture tubes are awesome. That's great.
Does it explode, like, expand, like, you know, like, how fast is it?
Shaving creams are really
Yeah. You start it, and you have about 45 seconds. It kind of turns into thick pudding, and then after about a minute, it just starts to grow like one of those little 4th of July snakes that you like. And you can just watch it grow, and it's like, oh, I put too much.
Wow.
So
Yeah, it's crazy.
the helmet that we have at our table, to make it solid, because I didn't want it to bonk around, I filled it with about ½ a cup of boat foam. So that way it would just make a solid, rigid helmet. I could stick it on a display base. So you can feel the bottom of that. It's just rock hard, crunchy stuff. But yeah, it expands pretty quick. Once it gets going, it'll expand for about 2 minutes straight, and then it'll kick off and stop moving. Good stuff. But it's about $100 for a half gallon.
It was a long way.
Yeah, it's a long way.
Want to talk about your
Yeah.
skin prep?
Everything, most of mine is just cloth that I had a seamstress help me out. I gave her some ideas and patterns and things like that. The bandoliers are obviously Starbuck, but the gaffy is completely homemade. And again, I'm an attorney by nature. I know how to use a hammer and a screwdriver and a saw, and that's about it. I don't have any power tools other than an electric drill. Luckily enough, my buddy's a carpenter, and he basically said, you can do whatever you want, but I'm not helping you. I said, okay, because he was a little embarrassed by what I was doing. What I did was I basically took a piece of wood that was 1 inch thick, wasn't enough, and 2 inches was too big. And I really wanted it to be 1.5 inches, so I just glued 2 1-inch pieces, and then just started taking a belt sander and went to town. We have C6 coming up, this big Star Wars convention, and I know I was going to fly down, but now one of my friends are going to take my bid for me. And I have a different gaffy stick that I actually was like, I want to be able to fit it in my luggage, and I don't know how to, but I want it to be durable. I wanted to. I mean, I want it to work. I want it to be like a weapon. So I had they call it the pineapple. It's the one that they beat Luke up with. I knew that basically pool cues can come apart. So I wanted to figure out how to do that. And I went to Lowe's and Home Depot and just said, this is what I'm trying to do. I want to take a 1 1/4 inch dowel, cut it into 3, and be able to screw it apart and screw it in and screw it together. And they said, here, this is how you do it. And this is what this is. The gaffy at home, it actually breaks down to 3, fits into a suitcase great. It's all wooden pieces, so you can't really tell except for these screws. It takes forever, but I mean, you can literally, this is super heavy. I mean, you can really hurt somebody with this. But I can, because it's so deep, there's a screw that basically you hammer in, or you take a jewel of small paddle and then hammer it in. And then this end is, again, just another screw that mates into it. I believe they're called furniture screws. The guy gave me a couple different options, and this was the best. It was the most heavy duty. It's super strong. It holds this thing great, and it looks like it's one piece. I mean, you can't really tell because this the leather covers it up, but the gaffy stick that I have at home that breaks into 3, it's just a solid dowel that I cut into 3 spots. You figure out where the center is, and you just got to be really careful about drilling the holes in. You got to make sure it's center, otherwise it comes out a little wonky when you kind of put it together. It'll be a little off center. One of them was, so I just sanded a little bit, made it work together, and that was it. And that was my, now anything I do that's a stick, anything that's a pole, I use these screws that I can break it down, throw it in the back of my car. Because this thing's huge, it takes up literally the whole back seat. So now it takes it in 2 places. This actually fits in my bin, this never does. And I was looking at yours kind of shakes a little bit. Yeah. Did you ever think of the, I made a rifle, a Tuscan rifle. They're super heavy. There's this conduit, and I think it's ABS also, it's metal, that it's really, really strong. I mean, if you took it and banged on the ground.
The black pipe?
No, it's silver. It's definitely silver.
Okay, I think it's electrical conduit.
Yes, it's the electrical conduit. And I'm telling you, you can make your pole out of that.
Yeah, I gotta redo that whole darn thing.
The only thing is, though, I don't know, there's got to be ways to connect 2 ends that you could probably screw. But do you have that so it separates, or no?
Yeah, mine's PVC and it comes apart in 2 pieces. Yeah.
But you could definitely look at that. It's
the next one I'm doing is going to be the short version, so this piece will come out and there will be another version, another piece that comes. So it's going to be little modular, so you can switch it around. But, yeah.
I don't mind it heavy. In fact, my other gaffy is really, really light. It's just it's an 1 1/4 dowel. I mean, there's nothing to it. I like this is heavy because I kind of walk with it, and you can't see anything under your helmet, so I kind of use it as the blind use their walking stick. And it also, because it's heavy, I respect it so that I don't, when I take pictures, I don't just whip it up in the air. Since you can't see anything out of that mask, when I have that other gaffy, it's so light, I literally just pull it up, and you can hit somebody in the head, it would really, really hurt. So this is so heavy that I really take a look around it before I lift it up. The thing that I did to make my rifle lighter was that electric conduit. It is metal, it feels like metal, it's sturdy like metal, it doesn't bend, it doesn't crimp, and it's super, super light. So that's how I found a way to basically take these huge things and put them in bins so they can travel pretty easily and actually put them in my suitcases.
Can you make the sound that the sound people make?
I cannot, but I have I didn't put it on now, but I was walking around all day with it. I have an amp that somebody sells from the 501st. I took an iPod, and it comes with a cord that basically plugs in, like your headphone jack, and it's got double headphones. So you click it into the iPod, you click it into the amp, you just input it here somewhere.
He's got it, but 100 times louder.
Somebody's got a file with 50 different sounds that the Tuscans make.
Wow.
I don't know if they made them or not. So I just basically made a playlist on my iPod. And actually, this is the super old shuffle. I mean, it's like that big. That's how old the shuffle was. Not the long stick one, the next rectangle one. And it's just literally, I just use it for this. I keep it inside my bin at all times. I have the USB charger that I can plug right into the wall that I just plug it in at the end of every night, and the amp. It goes around my neck, but because it's not heavy, but eventually it just starts wearing. Everything wears on you. Yeah. So I created just basically a belt that goes around my chest. I made it really tight. It clips onto the belt to kind of support the weight. and then I make it go around my shoulder. So eventually it just slides to the side, so it's never in the center. Plus it just, the ropes in my arm and the bandoliers will cover this big block. And I mean, everybody, I hope everybody's heard it. It's super loud, it sounds real.
It's awesome.
And again, when it's not as crowded, when they do that, I walk around going like that.
I could hear you in this room.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
So I'm wondering what this tip is made with and some of the stuff on your helmet and other things.
This, again, I just, if you got really close, if you got really close and looked at it, you would see that this is not very, it's not very flush. But it's a piece of wood that, again, my buddy's a carpenter. He has these special saws that he was making birdhouses. He showed me how to do it. And he got in there, and it was just a piece of wood that's literally that thick. It's not that strong, but I mean, it's strong enough that I banged into things and it doesn't move.
Wow.
So I just cut 2 templates out, and because they were flat, you have to somehow mate them. I cut a channel out like this, so it fits like that. I made it long so that it went into, this is another dowel, it's probably 7/8 of an inch. And I cut another cross channel in the end of the dowel, so this kind of mates in. This little piece is plastic, so I just kind of, PVC plastic, like the couplers. Put it there, and then just, I mean, you can see, I just filled it full of epoxy and epoxy putty to make it so, I mean, this thing's never going anywhere. If this thing breaks off, I'm going to have to cut it off and redo it. Same thing, this is 3 different size PVC pieces that just nested in each other, and I just cut them off, glued them in, and then the bottom piece is a bigger dowel, probably 1.25 inches, probably what I made the other handle out of. This chicken wire, I don't know what this is, it's some wire that you find at Home Depot or Lowe's. I just basically, I know you've told me you do it. I just walk around Lowe's every once in a while and just look for things and go, that's kind of neat. That's, you know, that kind of would work with what I'm looking for.
Hardware stores are dangerous.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I just basically drilled a small hole to thread the one end of the this wire in, and then put my foot on it so it would stay taut, and just went like this all the way around. As you can see, I crimped it a few places because as it was unraveling, it just got caught on each other, and I had epoxy on this. So it was starting to stick to my hand, and it was starting to get dried, and it's not really that great. I plan on
But it gives
doing
it a rustic feel.
But that's the way I've always felt. I feel that it looks like it's used, like somebody actually did something with it. And then again, yeah, like somebody used it and beat somebody up. And then again, this is just another piece of PVC coupling that I cut down to fit that would just. They don't actually, the PVC doesn't actually fit over all these dowels perfectly, so you gotta use epoxy, you gotta use some putty. I mean, if you look, it's not really flush underneath, but you can't see because it's nested with the
Oh, you know what a good cheat is, Chris, that I've done a lot of times? If one circle doesn't fit over another circle, the smaller circle, I wrap electrical tape.
Yeah, somebody told me duct tape.
And I just keep doing that, and then if it's too big, you can always pull a little bit off, and then it kind of just stays out. That's how my on my Boba Fett jetpack, the missile part is a separate piece. And there's a million ways to put it in there, but I found the easiest way is to just wrap tape around it, shove it in. It's just got enough. It's almost too big, but it just fits enough where it stays in, but yet I can remove it if I need to. But it's still, it's a 25-cent solution. So.
And that's the beauty. I mean, none of this stuff was expensive. I mean, this thing cost me $50, I'd be shocked. It really was not, and every bit of it's homemade. And well, the nice thing was, and nobody ever notices, so I'm going to brag a little. If you ever look at the prop photos that you see this guy walking around this in the movie for 3 seconds. I mean, he walks up to the land speeder, throws something out of it, and then you never see this thing again. Everybody has the pineapple. I picked the Tuscan Raider. Bob. I can't believe Bob and I are always Tuscan Raiders together. I've never seen a Tuscan Raider anywhere. So I wanted to get something unique, and here the guy that I've become like best friends with in the Legion is the Tuscan Raider. We walk around together. But I wanted something different than a pineapple, and this is something different. It's the end looks like a pineapple with a point. That's why I keep calling it pineapple Gaffy. It's the one that the guy beats up Luke with. I mean, he's the one that shakes it in the air and then hits him on the ground. If you look, it's got a big ball that looks like a pineapple. So I wanted something a little different, and the props, it's metal, but it's gold, and the edges get silver and black because they get dirty. And I looked at it, I was like, that is so cool. How do I replicate it? And it's just again, I have no artistic skills, no painting skills. It's just spray paint. It's just layers and layers of spray paint. I used a primer. I always use a primer, even though you don't really need to. I just like it. And then I did layers of silver. And then before it dried, I just did a quick layer of gold. And I saw that it wasn't enough gold, so I did a little bit more and a little bit more. And then I saw I did too much, so I went back with a little bit of silver. Again, I'm not that good, but this looks good from far away. Up close, it doesn't. I put black in all the crevices. I probably should use a brush and acrylic and do it better instead of the dots of spray paint. But I mean, it looks like it's dirty. It looks like it's used. It looks like it's been in the desert for a while. At least that's what I was. So that was my thing. I never, like I said, I don't have any artistic skills. I don't have any painting skills. I'm an attorney by nature. I don't have any skills with any tools, but I mean, if you just get a little creative, you talk to a few people, get online, ask a few questions, it's not that hard to do. And Home Depot and Lowe's are your best friends. You walk in there, don't tell them you're building a gaffy stick for a Star Wars thing, they'll be like, what is wrong with you? You tell them you're doing some kind of art project for your kid. And all of a sudden, they are the most helpful people on the planet. This is what I want to do.
I've actually had the opposite.
Yeah, I bring pictures of my costume and stuff, and I'm like, I'm making one.
I start calling people on the walkie-talkies, like, hey, where do we have this?
So that's always been, I think Lowe's and Home Depot are just amazing places. Those people know everything. And they can problem solve for you if you can, or they'll throw out a couple ideas. You go home and try and figure out which one works best for you.
What's cool about somebody who's not an artist is doing pretty damn good job.
What's cool about the different stores is that when you start getting into costumes, you'll see something as what it is. But I always tell people when you start getting into costumes, creating, kind of taking things apart, you see things differently. You walk into a craft store, you walk into Michael's, or you walk into Home Depot or Lowe's, you go, this will be great for the thing I was going to do. You see things differently. There was one costume I did last year of a character that had this beautiful crown on his head that was a lotus. And I couldn't find a lotus that was the right size, and they didn't look right, the fabric ones didn't look right. So I was looking at an artichoke one day in a craft store, and I'm like, oh my god. So I took this artichoke home, took the middle of it, painted it pink and did the white accents, and boom, perfect. So you kind of start seeing these things in a different way than you think you would initially. It's kind of fun when you see that. When that happens, it's not fun.
I get that when I go to like Jim Mays or Swap Meets or the Gary's You Pull It, the car wreck places. I like to work with found objects and put them and bash them together. So when I look at something, I turn it upside down and backwards, or open it up, take the shell off it, take the housing off it, and go, what's inside after I've taken something apart. And a lot of things here are found objects from other things. This is my sniper rifle. You were saying about using the metal. This one I had to make all plastic because some conventions won't allow you to have metal anything, regardless if it's fake or not. I had a steampunk sniper rifle which used a steel conduit in the middle, and the guy went tap tap. They can't have it in here. I was like, but it's just a piece of conduit with some duct tape on it. It's like, sorry, it has steel on it. No metal allowed. So I had to make sure that there was no metal on this at all.
At a steampunk convention?
Yeah, go figure.
Yeah.
Well, that was the theme.
Yeah, well, it was the theme. It wasn't a steampunk convention, but it was a steampunk rifle that I was taking. Yeah.
It was a steampunk thing.
It was a steampunk thing, yeah. So, this started out as the Nerf long shot with the tripod from the Nerf something or other, Nerf Vulcan. Then we have, I couldn't find a barrel that would go over the existing barrel until I found a fluorescent light fixture safety cover, which fit over on the outside diameter of another piece of PVC. So you go through the stores going, you start carrying things apart and seeing what fits together, what nests together, what can telescope. So now I know this certain Schedule 40 PVC will fit inside this housing, so if I ever want to make something telescope, now I know it'll work for that. The flash muzzle suppressor on the end is a lawn garden sprinkler repair kit. The scope is made out of a children's Dirt Devil vacuum cleaner. That's what it looks like on the inside. Some aquarium parts, some Gillette razors, some hair curler parts, and then you make it look realistic by throwing a SWAT tactical 3-point sling on it. And then you balance it as it should. Everyone goes. We had this at Philadelphia Comic Con last week, and the common theme was, that's with a pause. a big gun. Everyone would like fight it. It's like they would just be like, oh, that's a big gun. And we had an older gentleman that was served in World War I, World War II, World War I. He had an argument with him that it was fake. I argued with him that it was fake. He's like, no, I used those. That's the real one. How'd you get it in here? I'm like, it's plastic. It's like, oh, it's plastic. He's like, that's the one I use. I'm like, oh. So, okay, that's cool. So I had an argument with him. So yeah, so found objects. This is from a, I think it's called 1-800 Takeoff, 1-800 Fly Off. It's a private aircraft supplier. So this is your board, your clipboard that would fit on your leg. So you keep all your notes right there on your leg, so you wouldn't have to look for a pen or pencil while you're flying a plane. And I just got some old antique vintage Letraset panels back before press type letters. If you wanted to actually make newspaper, you would burn it onto the paper. That's how you got different fonts. Right. And then just a really cool graphic I got off of actual Star Trek website because it had all the readouts and stuff. Yes. Cross venue. I wanted to make some of the tools that you would see Chewbacca using. So, you have to have a little collapsible stock just because things look cooler with collapsible stocks. And it's a vintage grease gun, but it looks just like the Fast Turner 7 Hydro Spanner that Chewbacca was using. This here is my version of his fusion cutter. All he used was a oxyacetylene torch head, which is $112. Just painted. This is from Harbor Freight for $19, and then some airsoft parts to give it a little bit of something. So that's my own little fusion cutter. Hold still. And just painting in different colors to all match and things.
What sells that is the tip. The way the tip is scorched absolutely sells it.
Yeah, so I got the little black scorching, and then you've got the little gold on the tip, where the scorching is actually starting to anneal the metal again.
A little bit of aging can really turn a costume into something that looks like garb, or something that someone would wear.
So paint it, age it, dirt, make it look like you've been using it, and getting dirty at the same time. It's just little stuff I find at aircraft boneyards. These are safety pins to hold the ailerons down while a C-5 Galaxy transport is not flying anywhere. It just looks cool. And $10, good to pass up. A thingy, another thingy. Now, you knew what this was, and I think you knew what this was too. But it just looks cool. I picked it up, it's like, what is this? I don't know. But this is the connector on the back of a big rig to keep the cables from getting crimped. The little blue, red, and yellow cable things, but you put it on the table and it's a sonic screwdriver thing.
I thought it came out of the bedroom.
Yeah.
For somebody to say that.
Where do you get one?
You said, huh?
The little spring thingy. Where'd you?
Flea market. I just had a box of stuff that was all rusty and dirty, and there's like $1 or anything in the box. I'm like,
if you need one, they're just trailer parts.
Yeah, go to.
I understood his description of what it was. I'm just asking, like, where, like, is that something Harbor Freight has? Or is that
no, you would go to a TA truck stop.
Yeah, any trailer parts store. It's just connects the trailer lights to your truck. Usually inside the spring would be a bunch of wires.
18-wheeler trailer supply. This here was a vintage, like I said, was a vintage grease gun. It took me a week soaking it in simple green so I could actually disassemble it, and then another month just letting it sit in the simple green before I could actually get the grease off it, because it had caramelized into the entire system. And yeah, it kept falling out of my hands. Like, oh, that's cool. I like it. I wanted to buy it, but I didn't have a plastic bag, and I didn't want to carry it home. But then I found out, read it enough in newspapers, I could just get it home because it was a little nasty. If it was out there, hey, it's a spanner. It's for adjusting the regulators on the flip-flop override device and stuff. But it's a little handle clutch for the DeWalt XRP drill. But it's a spanner. This is one of my little favorite parts. I found that in a military surplus. This is one that, huh?
It looks like a Star Trek figure.
It does.
I thought it looked like the thing for the Predator that he uses to suck the blood out of his wound.
Yeah, that's reverse Han Solo. This is pretty much when you went to Vietnam. Before you went across, they would inoculate it with it. It's an air hypo. So off the top of it would be the vial of serum.
Right.
And down here they would have it charged up to an air compressor. And you just walk by and they hit you in the arm.
Yeah.
That's usually why most people have the scars on their arms, because it was just a very obtrusive, hi, I'm going to burn this vaccine into your arm. But they didn't need needles, and they could do a person every 30 seconds.
Wow.
So, as you're flying on the plane, yeah, you might need this, you might need this, you might need this. But it's just cool. It's the hypodermic injection apparatus, jet automatic.
Where'd you get it?
Military surplus. Got this, what's the place near Baltimore? Yeah, Jessup Army Navy Supply surplus. It just looks
right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's just
Yes,
awesome.
it does.
How much did that cost you?
like 10, 15 bucks.
Wow.
To them, it's just recycle scrap.
Right.
I mean, in the corner, they have a whole mound, a 20-foot high mound of the old Roscoe P. Coltrane, lights off the top of the old police cars. In the other corner, they got a pallet full of V12 truck engines from the old, snow removal equipment. And then over here, they've got all the SWAT gear that doesn't work, or SCBA equipment that doesn't work.
My brain would explode in that place.
Another cool thing I found is I found a little field medical kit that had all these really cool widgets. It's just, everyone needs just medical supplies and forceps and things. I didn't know what half the things were. Turns out it was a field rectal surgery kit.
Hopefully it was a bonus.
Yes. Score.
A prop, and you can use it at home.
It's like all these really cool things. Like, what is that?
I'm sorry.
Well, that's a skin spring. That's a graft. That's a forcep. That's a manual suture thing, and that's for rectal surgery, field surgery. I'm like, hey, I will put that in Lysol. The armor that we make is all out of Sintra, and we can get templates online on the websites that we share, and you can heat it with a heat gun and form it. I have a male mannequin at home that is my suit size, so that helps me out. Is that I can heat the plate up and just hold it on the dress suit, and it puts all the same shapes. So every armor I make has all the same contours, all the same shapes. The shoulders are formed over a 1 gallon paint can, so I know I always get those shapes. Your armor here, she wanted to use the same men's template for her chest armor there, so she found out ways of putting a relax in the curve, so she could form it over the angles and then go back in with other pieces and fill those shapes in later. But that way she wouldn't get a buckle trying to do a compound or a complex curve with a piece of flat styrene. Kimberly's chest armor, a guy does vacuum form pieces. So instead of styrene, he actually makes a mold in a buck and forms the plastic over so you can get those complex shapes. Which one is it? Yes, which is...
What's the temperatures needed to make it
heat gun. And it starts just about where you can't touch it anymore.
Low time heat gun. When you have a heat gun on low, that's fine. And those things are usually about 20 bucks, and they are worthwhile if you're doing any sort of...
A little bit more than a hairdryer, because you burn a hairdryer out as long as you have it on.
These are really good hot enough for Sintra. Wonderflex it gets warm enough for, but not Sintra.
Yeah, just the heat gun, and also you can localize it. So if you need one part and form a little bit more, you can heat just that part and form it. And at work, I have just an air nozzle from a compressor, so I can cool it down when I have it. Or you can be heating it, but don't have the heat gun in your hand at the same time, running it under cold water. Will shock it right back into that shape. So put the heat gun down, and then walk over to the cold water and
I can't going from such a high temperature to a low temperature.
It's not getting that high. It's never getting. It turns when it starts getting tacky. You've gotten it too hot, and you're just going to put fingerprints in it. But the other one, it's almost like it's like a sheet of caramel. It's just not quite.
Pretty cool when you get it warm and you start to kind of cool.
So it's never getting cold enough. It never shrinks. It doesn't expand. It doesn't change volume when you heat it up.
And it has a great rigidity to it. People can knock on you. It's great. Like they're like, "Oh, what's this made out of?" You're like, "Sintra."
And you can get it really hot, and you can actually form it into concaves. Like I'm doing a protocol droid. Imagine C-3PO but armored. And I want to make all the outsides look fine, but the insides I just want to get them in there so I can glue them down. So I overheat those, so when I push them, they just mold to the inside of the leg. Then after I let go, I run some super glue down it, push it back, and it's set. So the outside is nice, the inside is just fingerprinted in.
Cool.
And then you attach them to this something.
Yeah, this is a biker, a motorcycle bulletproof vest style. So it has the Velcro on the sides, so that the front is just one piece of leather. And I'll sew the Velcro on it, and I'll use the sticky back Velcro for grab a shoulder. So you just use the sticky back Velcro, but the sticky back Velcro takes about 24 hours to cure.
Okay.
So stick it on there, but don't stick it on for another 24 hours, because that way it makes a permanent bond to the plastic. And then but of course, I can't. With a forearm
That's why I need a buddy.
Yes. This I designed to put on all by myself, so my only opening is on the side. I duck into it, Velcro it, and everything's in place. So of course, obviously I have to put these on beforehand. But that's a piece of cincher that you can play with, and that is primed. Then it has 3 layers of paint on it, so that as the paint scratches off, you naturally have other layers and other colors underneath the scratches that show themselves. And then I did some dry brushing on the edges to make it look like the had some edge contact wear on it. Some people like to put their damage like all over. I like to have it in naturalistic spots. So I took my sniper rifle and I went, okay, that's where it will naturally scratch, and then I painted in the scratches to make them look better. Because the thing I did is, like, you know, I have a blaster hole, 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 blaster hole. People aren't targeting you that easily. Or they have their helmet really scratched up, but their armor's real nice. Just stopping the bullets. I love this distressing with the fabric. A lot of people cut into the fabric to make it look distressed. You want to cut into it with like a razor blade, and then take a Sureform or a rasp and work those edges until they're naturally frayed. And then you can even throw it in the wash and get that whole edge to fray out. Because I just hated people just cut it with the scissors. Hi, I got damaged, I got snagged. Just hit it with a rasp or some really heavy-duty sandpaper.
The sandpaper, yeah.
Yeah, some 80 or 50 grit sandpaper. Just drag it across, open up those pores of the fibers.
I just ripped duck cloth sheets. I tried to keep them about 1.5 inches, but some are 2 inches, some are 1 inch. And I just did it by hand, and then I threw it in the dryer.
The dryer stumbled,
and it just destroyed. I mean, and I lost a lot because it gets so tangled. Then I went to a fabric store and told them what I was doing. They're like, "You need a delicates bag. It's a little pouch that I guess women use.
Like a net bag for the bras.
That's what it is. It's got 4 containers. It zips up. I filled all four compartments, threw it in. And it just, I mean, I did it 3 or 4 times, just beat the heck out of it, glued it on, and then I took a wire brush, and then just went all around it and just scuffed it up as much, you know, like on the top of my head or the sides where I thought I'd come into contact with. So like you said, you kind of think of where you're going to hit things, and you just beat it up around there.
What is the helmet?
That's a kit. It's some kind of rubber, and then all the metal, leather. It's a kit. But you have
some things you can get kits to start yourself off with, or you get templates to start yourself off with, or you have to make it from scratch that doesn't exist yet.
Toys.
Yes, toys. And here's Dan's full body armor. It's like clamshell armor, legacy based on rolling armor. So he pretty much just puts his arms up and we lower it on him. And we don't need a mannequin to display it because it's all pretty much one piece after you pop it together. I use Velcro to hold all my plates together to the undervest, and we use pop rivets to attach it to the vest, but it's all supporting and holding itself.
And I use pretty much the same system that he used with the leather vest. Side here. You're going to see the leather vest is still in here. It still says genuine leather on it. And these are also great because, again, 30, 40 bucks. And this is a medium, and I mean, I'm a pretty large guy, so I take like a 3 to 4X shirt, so I mean, the medium fitting me is actually quite surprising.
Because the vests are designed to be worn over your layers of clothing. And I just like the fact that it's opening on the side, so I don't interfere with. I don't have to take my plates off, zip it up, and then Velcro my plates on.
Yeah. What about your helmet? Did you make it?
This helmet is actually the modified version of the Hasbro Boba Fett toy. Basically, the front visor area here was
the face was cut off and then
raised up.
Proportioned.
These were built upon and lowered to make it even with the bottom of the helmet. Sealed in all the seams, repainted, added fans inside to help try to keep us cool, electronics a little bit.
Yeah, the Hasbro is a great place to start, but to make it compliant within the costuming group, you have to do some pretty severe modifications to it because they have so much child safety involved.
Yep.
The Boba Fett style visor is like a little half-inch slit with a half-inch above, half-inch below, so it's in proportion. But the children's helmet has a 2.5-inch viewport out of the front of it, and then it has all this little safety bumper stuff inside the face that you need to take out because for an adult it actually obscures more vision than it does.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty severe mod, but if you have time, $30 in your time, or you can get some of these kits here, these helmets that Avodi has. That's also a kit, but that starts at about $200, and that's a resin helmet.
Who has these regulations?
The Mandalorian Mercs, the costuming group that we're in.
What do you do in this costuming group? You just
we do a lot. We do charity work. We show up in costume. So, for example, we'll go to the Ross Park Zoo to help raise money for their animals, for their food drive. And they used to only get about 400 people showing up. Then they got the idea, if we invite the Star Wars people, make all the ice cream themed, like dark Sith chocolate or Princess Leia pistachio. They got over 900 people to help with their fundraiser. And when we're not directly helping groups, we're either raising money for the national children's charities that we do for, or the local children's charities. Like the Falco Clan in New York raises money for A Room to Heal, which is a children's rehab area. So everything we do is volunteer to raise money for other charities.
That takes on a whole other level when you do it for that reason. The Free Comic Book Day was a couple weeks ago, back in May, and it was kind of my first time doing a full-blown charity event. We did photo ops with Avengers characters for a charity up in Saratoga for the Franklin House. And it makes you feel really good on the inside when you see like the kids who are 4 or 5 years old who don't see that you're a person in a costume. You're that character to them.
Yeah, they can suspend their disbelief and they're just like...
Yeah, I had all these little kids who didn't want to talk to me. They're like, it's Loki. And then they'd walk up to me and be like, Loki, you have to be good today because your brother's here and he's really strong. I'm like, I know, I'll be good, I promise. And it really kind of takes on a whole other level when you're just doing it at a convention versus when you're actually doing it for a good cause. It's more rewarding. It kind of feels like it's reverse Disney World in a way. You know, you're the person in the costume making other kids happy. It's really cool.
The 501st and the Rebel Legion also do the same with us with charity organizations.
For 2011, we raised $11.8 million worldwide for lots of different charities. We're very happy about that.
Yeah, within the Mercs, we raise money within ourselves, and then they pick different chapters, and they give them an equal cut, and they buy Toys for Tots and things like that. So they'll go out and they'll pretty much empty out a Toys R Us and then take it to children's hospital.
You smell squishy on the inside.
It is.
Like, oh.
It's fun. When we walk in and they're just like, okay, they just say you can fill 10 carts.
Wow.
It's like, okay.
You got it.
We can start.
Yeah. You start with all the small stuff because it packs well in the bottom. Then you go to medium stuff to fill in that gap, just kind of when you're doing gravel work. And then you start balancing the boxes on top. No, it's in the cart. See the corners in the cart.
That is awesome.
Questions, answers, comments,
inquiries.
Who wants to make armor now? Who wants to be in costume?
Yay!
I have a question.
Yes.
Have any of you done any Pepakura for armor?
I have wanted to. I don't have the patience for it. That's why when I use super glue, I use an accelerant. Super glue takes too long to cure. So I use a zip kicker because I want it now. Pepakura, I mean, there's a lot of great stuff out there. I don't have the time.
Paper craft.
Pepakura, it was developed in Japan where they actually take an object and polygon it and then print it out on paper and then crease in the paper. It's like 3-dimensional origami, but you can actually wear it.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of like paper dolls, only life size.
Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine this helmet. You can actually use cardboard, make it, and then what they do is once they get the general shape, they'll cover it with Bondo, and then start sanding it down into the shape and finishing it. That's too many steps for me. But if you have the time and you've got, you know, the wherewithal, I've seen some Pepicura stuff. I'm looking at it going, that's paper? And we go, yeah, especially with Warhammer stuff. We go into, when we go into New York City, we go to Kinokuniya Books, and we're always in the art section seeing some of these things that they've made. One guy did a whole Halo costume. One guy did a Gears of War costume. One guy did a Warhammer 40K Khorne Berserker.
Yeah, Space Marines.
The only thing that wasn't paper were his risers that he was wearing on his feet. And it was just all, started off as paper and then Bondo and glue and straps. And the whole thing weighed like 50 pounds for a full head-to-toe set of armor.
Yeah, I've been working on a Cyberman costume in Pepicura, and I've never done the fiberglassing in the Bondo before.
Yeah.
I've done pretty intricate paper craft before, so the paper part, the step I'm on right now, is very comfortable for me. It's stuff I've done for years, but now I'm getting to the point where things are built enough that I'm ready to take that step into
actually finishing something.
And I'm like, I've watched some YouTube videos, I've read so many articles online, and it's still just kind of like...
Yeah, I use the fiberglass on the inside to reinforce it and hold the structure, and I use the Bondo on the outside because you can sand that. Right. If you use the fiberglass, and that's a polyester resin, you start getting into the fibers and all the strands, and those are kind of hard to then clean up and cover them. So you use fiberglass on the inside to hold its shape, then you Bondo it from the outside, then you can sand it and detail it and wet sand it and get it mirror smooth if you want to. A lot of resin.
Many different grades of Bondo. Really soft Bondo with really hard Bondo.
Yeah, and Bondo, once you mix it, you've got 2 minutes to get it down. Yeah. So Bondo is, I want something here that I can sand later. Polyester resin is more forgiving. You have 3 minutes. Before, you're starting to spread it down and you realize that it's not moving when you're spreading it. And you're like, oh, now my brush is stuck into the cup I was just using, and you're done. Yeah, Bondo, just make a golf ball size, stick it to whatever you are, walk away from it, come back 5 minutes later, do another.
Mix small amounts.
Yeah.
Mix more as you need it. Because if you mix a big cup of it, you're going to get the whole, the whole cup goes with it kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that's perfect. I want more. I use a urethane resin as much as I can versus a polyester resin. The fiberglass is a polyester resin, and it can fume and vapor off 6 months down the road. So if you're using it for the inside of a helmet, you're going to be sucking in those fumes until it actually vapor cures. So it'll be cured and set, but it won't vapor off for another 6 months. Urethane resin is 100% inert after it cures. There's no scent. When you sand it, you file it, it's just dust and dirt. There's no actual chemicals to it. So you just wear a dust mask versus an actual respirator. I have birds, and they're the first ones to tell you that there's a bad fume in the house because they fall off the perch. So I have to make sure that any chemicals I use in the house...
That's why he has them.
Yes. Yes, they're better than the CO2 detector. So I use the urethane resin because it's just 100% inert after it cures. I've been using it for like 15 years by a company called Silpack out in Pomona, California. And I've been using their family of products for 15 years, and I know their behaviors. They tell me when they're stop working with them. So come up and touch and play.
You know you want to touch the big guy.
Yeah.
Big guy.